There was a trade, and I think I was still here, or maybe I wasn't. I like Jalen Waddle, good player. But the Broncos gave up like a first, a third, and I'm like, a first and a third. I'm like that, and I think there was another a fifth maybe, and I'm like, and it feels like it's a Sean Payton move. It's like Sean's like, we're getting him. I've got the juice in the building. Are you worried that Payton maybe has too much influence over personnel and coaching? Did you like the move?
No, because I trust Sean Payton, and I think it's more of an indictment on what the Broncos probably feel about this year's draft class. And you got to remember, too, like when you have a young quarterback, you don't always want to pair him up with a young receiver. It's kind of nice to pair a young quarterback up with a guy that's a proven thing in the NFL. So I actually think this is a good move. And I think I'm probably biased because when I think of Sean Payton, I think of who he and his offense has been when they have that number one receiver where, hey, if you're ever one-on-one with that guy, green light. I'm thinking like Michael Thomas. Like if you're ever by yourself, take it. If not, I got a concept over here where we can play our guys against your guys.
Right.
But if it's ever one-on-one, that really, that's passing game 101. If you can get that with a quarterback that can deliver the ball, you're good. And that's what Sean Payton's done for a long time.
I can't believe Colin is actually questioning this. I mean, what are we doing here? Last season, he was praising Sean Payton for loading up on defense, bringing in guys like Greenlaw, and his reaction was, that's so Sean Payton. Now, this time around, he's acting hesitant about giving up a first and a third for Jalen Waddle. That's a steal when you look at the production you're getting right now, given the situation the Broncos are in at this exact moment. This is what always fascinates me about the NFL. I was just thinking about this because Colin actually broke one of his own rules with the JSN signing. He's always said he doesn't like paying wide receivers top-tier money because the teams that do that don't win. And I get it, Colin has all these rules he uses to make sense of the league. It's helpful to have those structures, those guidelines. But you need to know when to follow them and when to break them. When to play by those rules and when to toss them aside. The whole conversation around when to go all in for a Super Bowl, when not to, when a young quarterback needs you to spend every dollar available, everyone always thinks there are these rigid formulas. Copy, paste, and you're set. But it's always a it depends situation. And right now, you have to look at where the Broncos are in this moment with the Bo Nix, Sean Payton partnership. Heading into year 3, coming off the success they've had, they were the number 1 seed, just a step short of the Super Bowl. You look at where they're positioned. You look around the league. You're looking at the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Ravens. You're measuring yourself against all the competition. And at the end of the day, when you're staring at a first-round pick, sure, the third-rounder matters too, but primarily that first, you have to ask yourself, can I draft an immediate impact player right now? Someone who gives this team an undeniable, measurable boost to win a game on any given drive, any given play, any given quarter? At the most zoomed-in level possible for a team, does Jalen Waddle improve your ability to do that? The answer is yes. And on top of that, does it help reinforce your quarterback, who you haven't paid yet, who's entering his 3rd year, and who you genuinely want to evaluate just how special he really is? I've talked about this before, sometimes you go all in on offense for a young quarterback because you need to know exactly who he is. You need to give him everything possible so there are no excuses, no gray areas. That's what the Bears did when Ben Johnson first arrived. There were question marks around Caleb Williams, and their approach was, we're giving him everything offensively so we can figure out who this guy truly is. That was a smart move. And to your point, Danowski has talked about how boosting your defense can be one of the best things for a young quarterback. If he doesn't have to score a ton of points, it makes his life easier. That also makes sense. There are no hard and fast, all-or-nothing rules with this stuff. But when you look at what the Broncos have already achieved, you can't just say, he's a young quarterback on a rookie deal, so do X. There's a difference between where the Broncos were last season, what they accomplished, what they did in free agency. That's why you can't just copy and paste. You have to ask, what year are we in? Year 2? Year 3? Do we have a great coach? Is the defense legit? How far did we get last year? It's not just a checklist where you do one thing and you're done. That's not how it works. So right now, you're sitting there saying, we were a great team. We were the #1 seed. We have a quarterback on the rise. Our offense needs to be better, more resilient, more consistent. What move can we make that checks every box? The price is right, financially and in terms of draft capital. And it gives us a major, significant boost, not only to ensure we can be just as competitive, if not more, than last season, but also to make any opponent facing the Broncos in the AFC Championship feel uncomfortable. You don't want them thinking, oh, good, it's the Broncos. At least it's not the Bills or the Ravens. You want them thinking, man, this team is legit. That's what adding a player like Jalen Waddle does. Drafting someone late in the first round, where the Broncos were picking, does not do that. So this move is a no-brainer. If the Broncos had the 5th overall pick and could grab someone like Jeremiah Love or Luther Burden, then maybe you pause and think about it. But that's not the reality. This is a sure thing. And right now, the Broncos need more of a sure thing. You could argue that other teams might approach it differently because they're not in the same situation with their quarterback. When I talk about doing what's best for your quarterback, it's not just about maximizing him on a rookie deal. It's about building a team where you can see the best version of that quarterback before you sign him to a massive extension. You want to know exactly what you're committing to. You don't want to find yourself in that gray area, the kind of uncertainty the Packers had with Jordan Love. And honestly, Colin was ready to move on from Jordan Love at one point. I think he even suggested the Broncos might need to draft a new quarterback. That's exactly why you remove any question marks. Now, I don't have question marks about Jordan Love, and I don't have question marks about Bo Nix. But on a spectrum, I have fewer question marks about Josh Allen than I do about Bo Nix. And I want to get to the point where I see 0 question marks. A move like this helps get you there. That's all important for the Broncos right now. I really don't see why anyone would question this. If the Broncos had the 14th pick, were the 7th seed, got blown out in the first round, and then made this kind of trade, okay, maybe you raise an eyebrow. You'd say, they have a decent draft pick, they were good but not great, they've got a lot of holes to fill. But that's not the situation they're in. They were a legitimate, bona fide top contender last season. One of their biggest issues was the inconsistency on offense. Now they're adding an established star wide receiver who immediately improves the entire team, the entire offense, and is a great locker room presence. This is the most obvious move a team in their position could possibly make. What would you be waiting for? Who could you draft right now that checks all those boxes? It doesn't exist. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Denver Broncos? Are you concerned? I didn't realize Colin had concerns. Maybe he was confident at first, then went on vacation and started getting a little antsy. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into a few debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you be part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.